everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Physics with Mrs. Besega. So for today, let's start off by going over what you should have done yesterday. So depending on what block you are, you might have had a problem observing our first video, yesterday's video. If that was you, feel free to go into Drive and see the newly uploaded video from yesterday. Currently, there's a problem with YouTube where the district needs to change your permissions a little bit. And once that gets fixed, you should be able to see yesterday's video fine. My workaround for that was I uploaded my video to Drive, which you definitely have access to. Now, if you didn't see yesterday's video, go do that first so that you can, get your homework done. Right now, once you do get your homework, on Friday, I'm going to be adding to Drive this item. When you see the word key, all caps in a title, this means that this is the key to yesterday's homework. I can't post it yet because some classes have this homework due Friday and other classes have this homework due on a different day. So when you open up a key, that's going to show you all of my work in whichever mode I decided to do it. Yesterday, your assignment was done on Google Docs, so my key was done with Google Docs. I had a few questions on how to get the model from the equation, and just to reiterate, you get the equation from the side of the graph, right? And once you get your equation, you're going to take whatever's on the y-axis and write its symbol in the model. In this case, weight is on the y-axis, so its symbol goes into the model, and age is on the x-axis, so its symbol A for age goes into the model. That's it. So if you want to check your work, go right ahead. You can take a moment and do that. But let's get to new things for the day. Okay, everyone. So today is block B, and it has a few goals. We have some social goals, some science goals, and some technology goals. Like yesterday, you're not learning any new physics, but I do want to check your math skills to make sure you're on the right track. So let's start with social things first, because that's the funnest. I have a class challenge for you right now. Now, whoever's the natural leader of your class, I would like you to organize your classmates. When you do this, I want you to get your whole class into alphabetical order by last name. Yes, that involves talking to each other. It's going to be odd. You'll be fine. And once you do, I want you to fill up these 6 tables. So imagine if your substitute teacher standing up here with the whiteboard. I want you to fill them up. So you have your first 4 alphabetical students sitting anywhere at table 1. Your next 4 alphabetical students sit at table 2. Your next 4 alphabetical students sit at table 3. And let's say you get to the end and you're like, oh, wow, we have 21 students. So 1 kid is left alone on table 6. Can somebody from table 5 just move to table 6 and be their buddy? When I say alpha adjacent person, I just mean the next person next to them in the order. Once you get this all worked out, sit down with your table and introduce yourselves to each other. We have a big school, so maybe you haven't talked to these kids before, but you will. Introduce yourself to everybody at your table. And what I want you to do is share fun facts about each other, about yourselves, until you figure out one thing that all of you have in common. Then go on to classroom, and under today's question of the day, can one of you share a selfie with you and your team, include all your names, and the one thing that all of you have in common? Oh, and don't go for easy things like we're all 17 or we all go to Glastonbury High School. Go for some like difficult, fun things. Maybe like you all would like to go jet skiing someday. Jet skiing is super fun. Big fan. Feel free to pause the video here before we move on so that you can go get your social goals done. So that was your social goal. I wanted you to find your teammates. Now we're going to get into our technology goals. Today's technology goals are going to be to use Desmos or a graphing calculator and use the 4-step method, that's your science goal, to calculate physics word problems. So let's get to that. This next video of Previous Me is going to go over all three of those things. So let's give it up in this video to Previous Me.
Hi everyone, Mrs. Basega here, and today we're going to talk about the four-step method. The four-step method is a way to show your work. And since we're going to be doing some complicated word problems this year, we want you to be able to organize the information. If you're a person that traditionally struggles in math, this is a way to jumpstart your problem solving. And it's not just for physics. You could use it for math too. But finally, and most importantly for you, it's also a way to earn points. When I need you to show your work, that means I can give you partial credits even if you got the number wrong at the end. Most importantly for me, this is a way to make predictions based on science. And if you think about the scientific method, predictions are what it's all about. First, you started with scientists asking questions. Then, they did experiments to answer those questions. Those experiments found out relationships, which gave us mathematical equations, and now we can use those equations to make predictions about the world around us. So, what are the four steps? These are worth writing down because sometimes you'll get points for each one of these four steps if you show it. Okay? Step number 1, identify the knowns and unknowns. Read through your problem closely. Find all the numerical information you can. Then, I'm going to have you select and write an equation. These will usually be given to you, so you'll just need to figure out which one of the equations given to you makes sense. Then, substitute all your numbers into the equation and solve it. Finally, check to see if it makes sense. If you got 47 years as the time it takes light to travel from the sun to the earth, that's not logical. So then probably something went wrong there. Let's try out the four-step method on this practice problem set. So what I want to do first is I want to identify the knowns and unknowns. The knowns and unknowns are the items in this problem that I can connect to variables. So in this case, sound travels through the air at 340 meters per second. That's a variable, and its symbol is v. I use v for both velocity and speed. So I'm making a list of my knowns and unknowns. I know the velocity. I'm trying to find how long, and long is actually a time. And to indicate that I don't know this, I usually put a box around it, I highlight it, and I know the distance. How long does it take for the sound of thunder to travel 1,609 meters? Notice I'm selecting meters, not miles, because meters is the base unit for physics. Distance is 1,609 meters. So step number 1, read the problem, write the knowns and unknowns. Step number 2, write the equation exactly in the form that it's above of the equation that relates velocity, distance, and time. We only know velocity and distance, so we can't possibly use equation 3. And since distance isn't even in equation 2, I can't use that one. Step 3, substitute. In this case, I'm substituting the equations, replacing v with 340, replacing d with 1,609 over t. Now, to solve this, I know that I need to multiply by t on both sides. Step 3 is really substitute and solve together. I multiply by t on both sides. That leaves 340t equals 1,609. Oh my gosh, my handwriting, guys. So sorry. Divide by 340 on both sides. And now I substitute into Desmos. I'm going to take that t is equal to 1,609 over 340. Going to go right over to Desmos. And I'm actually going to do it in the high school calculator. This is the one when you take the NGSS later that you're actually going to have to use. And the number I'm substituting is 1,609 divided by 340. Return. And notice that Desmos gives me 4.73 as my result. So t is equal to 4.73. Time is measured in seconds. And I'm going to put a circle around this so as teacher, it's easy for me to find. But there is a step 4, right? Step 4 is units and logic. Let's do logic first. Logic. Does it make sense that it takes thunder 4.73 seconds to travel a mile? Yeah, that sounds reasonable. It's not taking like hours to travel a mile, I know that. So I know that at least logically that makes sense. Unit wise, let's check in a different color. When I divided 1,609, that was 1,609 meters over 340 meters per second. So when I'm checking my units, I see that meters cancels meters, and I'm left with 1 over seconds. So my units end up being 1 over seconds, or just seconds, which is sensible. Like my units for time should be seconds. For problem 2, let's work on another way to solve problems and show your work, but this time using Google Docs instead of editing a PDF. So I'm still going to put my little knowns and unknowns column, K and U. Put a little highlight here. I see that I have a car whose mass is 1,360 kilograms. Kilograms is the base unit for physics. And the car accelerates from 0 meters per second. I'm going to call that VI. And if you're not familiar with Google Docs, you can go to Insert, Equation, and it will pull up this nifty equation bar right here. You see it? Now, since it knows I'm working on equations, I've got all these options. I'm going to choose a V sub I here. I see my initial velocity is 0 meters per second. The final velocity is 25 meters per second. And guys, I picked this particular number because 25 meters per second is about 65 or so miles an hour. So my car goes from 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 10 seconds. And I want to calculate the acceleration. I'm going to leave this as an A for acceleration, lowercase. And since I don't know what it is, I'm still going to identify that I know it's my unknown. So my knowns are mass, velocities, time, and my unknown is acceleration.
Usually people are really good at getting the knowns and unknowns, but then when it comes to picking out the equations, they panic because that's a lot of letters. But hey, there's an easy way to do this. Notice how we have 2 velocities, an acceleration, and a time. It doesn't have distances at all, so I know I can't use equation 2 or equation 3. That leaves just equation 1. That's how we pick what equation to use, is we only pick the equation that includes the knowns and unknowns. Anything else, like mass, didn't show up in any of the equations, is an extraneous number that you don't need to worry about. Now that you've selected the equation, write that equation exactly as it was given to you. Don't skip this step because you get a free point for just writing the equation down.
So that's part 1. Step 2, let's substitute and solve. So that's 25 equals 0 plus A, which I don't know, so I'm going to leave it as A, times 10. Dividing by 10 to both sides gives me something like A equals, and over here on this operation side, 25 minus 0 over 10. Which finally gives me my answer. Acceleration equals 2.5. But I need units here, right? So to get the units, I notice the acceleration has meters per second on top and time, 10 seconds, so it's seconds on the bottom. This unit is called meters per second squared. But if you don't know the special name for it, you could just leave it as this. So it's got its units, it's got a number, an acceleration of 2.5 meters per second squared. I'm going to highlight it, let the teacher know that's your answer. Done with problem 2.
And just to reiterate, in order to pick out what equation you need to use, you're going to select the equation that has the variable that you're looking for and none of the variables that you don't. So here's an example. Let's say I gave you these two equations. And the nice thing is you don't actually need to know what any of the symbols mean. I'll give them to you. So V's are velocities, D is distance, T is time, lambda is wavelength, and F is frequency. So if I gave you a question that asks you something like, a 680 hertz sound has a wavelength of 0.5. How fast is it traveling? I know I need the velocity V. So I'm going to put that as my unknown. I'm given a wavelength, so I'm going to write down lambda equals 0.5. And that automatically means that even if I don't know what 680 hertz is as a symbol, that has to be this wavelength equation on the right, because that's the only one that has a wavelength in it. It's kind of like a process of elimination here. So once you determine that you have the wavelength, you know you must use the equation on the right. One more example. Let's say I ask you, sound travels 5 meters and the speed is, or the velocity is 340. How long does it take? Well, I know I'm given the velocity or speed is 340. How long is referring to a time. So I must use the first equation. And that means 5 meters is the distance. So process of elimination. I'm going to make you use knowns and unknowns so you can pick the right equation, especially when they have common symbols. So we found your people. You know how to use Desmos, a graphing calculator, and the 4-step method. I'd like to give you this time to collaborate on assignments. So this homework is printed out for you already. I have extra copies and drives so that if you're at home, you can just print it out and do that whole thing there. You're going to use the same 4-step method where use the process of elimination to pick which equation to use. So pause this video right now. And in your teams of 3 or 4 people, I want you to work together on the homework. It's homework B. Each person has to turn in their own, but you can all work on it together. So pause the video. Once you're done with this, I'm going to have you scan it. That is your last skill of the day using Microsoft Office Lens. So the next video, also me, past me, is going to show you how to use Microsoft Office Lens.
Hi everyone, Mrs. Basega here, and today I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft Office Lens to take PDFs of your homework assignments. So first, download Microsoft Office Lens from the self-service on your iPad. You should see it as this icon on your home screen. Opening up Office Lens, select Document from the choices on the side. Document is going to show your camera, and when it gets lined up with the assignment you're looking at, it's going to have an orange edge around it. When that orange edge is aligned with the sides of your picture, press the camera button to take a picture of your document. This screen is going to show you how it's cropping out the rest of the image behind. So hit confirm, and then in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see the button that says Add. I want to add more to this, so I'm going to take a picture of the next page. Aligning the orange box, clicking and confirming to show that it fits correctly. Now I'm going to repeat with the last 2 pages of the document. Notice that the lower right-hand corner has a number showing you how many pictures are currently in the document. Now I'm going to go add filters. I've scanned 4 pages, so on each page I'm going to apply a filter. On black and white pages, you could use Enhance or Black and White or Grayscale, and that will make your image easier to see. On a page that has color, when I add a filter, maybe I choose Enhance instead. Notice how that makes it easier to see, but it maintains the colors. Repeating with the last 2 pages, I'm leaving it as Enhance on the page with color. I'm putting Black and White on the page that doesn't have any color. And then I'm going to hit Next. I want this document saved as a PDF, and I'm going to save it as a PDF to phone storage. From here, I see all the other documents that I've used this app with. So I'm going to select the one I just scanned, the answer key to homework 1.5. And on the top right, I'm going to hit share. That will share the completed PDF to Drive, Classroom, somewhere else in your file system if you'd like. I selected Drive in this case, and it's going to show me which folder in Drive I'd like to share this document to. I'd like to save it to the 5480 class folder for the year, so I'm going to select that folder, hit save here, and you'll notice there's an upload button as that goes. It's currently uploading it to the 5480 folder. But if you wanted to do this directly to Classroom, you could do that instead. So going back into my files, you're going to see that screen that has a picture of all the files you've used Microsoft Lens with. Open the file you want to save, hit the Share button. Now instead of Drive, hit Classroom. I'm going to log in with my account, and that'll allow me to directly put this file to one of your classroom pages. On your screen, you'd see the option to go to any of your other classes, select that class, and upload it to the assignment that you want. So that's how to use Microsoft Office Lens to upload nice PDFs of your homework.
And that's it for today, friends. So thank you for an on-task second day. Just like yesterday, if you finish this assignment and upload it during your class period, there might be something extra in it for you. All right, good luck, everyone. Bye.